Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Simply Sketchy. Today is an episode where we're gonna focus on a specific creature, or rather, a creature and faction from the well-established franchise of Halo. This is the main antagonist, fight me, of the entire series, at least up to Halo 1, 2, and 3. With me today, I have Besik to help me around, guiding through the lines, tell a little bit about everything. Well, I just do the thing that I always do, which is sketching, because, I'm sketchy, and I'm simple like that. Say hello, Besik.
Hello. He's very simple. And occasionally he's sketchy.
Yes.
But, so as Tim said, today we are looking at the species, race, faction known as the Flood. Or the Parasite, perhaps.
Yes, or
the Infection.
Or, it has a lot of names, but I think me and Besik decided to give it the most fitting name of them all. Space Communism.
You stupid bastards!
That too. Oh
yes.
God, the rocket launchers.
Yes. Oh yes, the rocket launchers were not fun.
No.
So, today Trim has decided that we're going to be going through a few different forms of the Flood. Being a parasite, fungus, mutant thing, like all good parasite, mutant, fungus things, they come in a variety of forms. So what form are we starting with, Trim?
Right now, I am sketching out the beginning of our favorite form from Halo 3, the tank form, because this shit was so easy dealing with.
Yes. Bullet sponges. Such fun.
Yes. The funniest.
Yes.
After this, I'm going to jump onto the infection form, and then add the iconic, at least to me, human combat form.
So, in the Halo universe, to try and make this self-contained, the games are set during Earth slightly ahead of now.
Yes.
However, as the plot progresses, the player discovers humans aren't the first thing in space.
No.
In fact, they're not even the second or the third.
Or the fourth.
In fact, there's a long list of stuff that got to the stars before the humans.
Yes. And the list goes even on before there. Holy shit.
Yes. And one of these things is a race called the Forerunners. And they were running around the universe approximately 100,000 years ago. Earth years.
Yes.
And they were getting up to shenanigans, being all a futurist, a super advanced space species with faster than light travel. They were kicking around the universe, colonizing stuff. But then they ran into a small little problem that very rapidly became a very big problem. And that was, of course, the topic of today's sketch, the Flood.
Yes. That's usually how the Flood goes, It's a small infection. You don't really mind it that much. You don't think about it. You hope if you ignore it for long enough, it'll go away. But suddenly, a few days later...
Suddenly infest the Hollywood and the universities, and the next thing you know, there's communists everywhere.
Yes. And there's no way to get rid of it.
There's no parallels there whatsoever.
No, not at all.
So... Yes, so the Forerunners were around a long time ago, before the 100,000 years, but about the 100,000 years ago, the Flood problem got beyond the ability for the Forerunners to control, so they needed to take drastic measures to stop the Flood from spreading.
What kind of drastic measures would that be?
Well, we'll get there. We'll explain why the drastic measures were necessary. So, the problem with the Flood, as we've described earlier, is they're parasites, which means they require a host to live. If they don't find a new host to jump onto, they die off. So, the Forerunners decided that since the Flood were really, really hard to kill, the best solution to stopping them spreading would be to kill any potential hosts. Now, the problem with the Flood is they can jump to any... The law says biological, but that's an awfully big branch of things that includes trees.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, anything involved with enough calcium could be converted directly or in fact turned into infection forms, while everything else could just be turned into pure biomass.
Yes, so they turn most things, a lot of stuff, into biomass of food, but in order to prevent themselves from being destroyed, or itself, the Flood needs combat forms, which are usually based off of things with a slightly more developed nervous system. So, that would be things like, well, what's that animal on Earth that's got a really well-developed brain, requires a lot of meat and energy?
Let's see. Oh, is that one slightly, related to primates?
Yeah, the one with limited body hair, walks upright. What was that one called again?
Human, yes.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, the humans. So, so about 100,000 years ago, the Forerunners killed off all the possible hosts for the Flood in their section of the universe, or galaxy. We'll say galaxy. I'll use galaxy and universe interchangeably. Astronomers, leave your angry comments below. It boosts engagements, especially because I just called you an astronomist. So yes, 100,000 years ago, the Forerunners killed off a whole bunch of biologics to prevent the Flood from consuming them and multiplying.
So essentially it's the galactic version of Scorched Earth.
Pretty much. The galactic version of a neutron bomb, because it's hypothesized the neutron bomb would wipe out all the biologics but leave the structures, which is pretty much what happened to when the Forerunners released their weapon of mass destruction previously.
What were those names? What was the name of that weapon?
I think it was called a Halo, and there was an array of them.
Weird. Magic circles in space.
Yes. Magic space circles. So the Forerunners, not wanting to completely destroy all life in the universe, had a side project, a little piddling planet where they left some DNA behind to see what had happened to it. Hopefully far enough out of the reach of the Flood that the Flood wouldn't be able to get there. Small little planet, rocky, about 70% covered in water, orbiting a star 3 planets out.
Uranus? No, wait. Mars? No.
No, that's where the Flood comes from. So obviously we're talking about Earth here. The Forerunners left some DNA on Earth in the genetic structure of what would go on to become Homo sapiens. So then we fast forward 100,000 years, or give or take, space travel. Mm-hmm. give or take faster than light travel. And, well, Earth is now a massive empire. Humanity is now a massive empire that spans around colonizing things. Then one day they accidentally have an oopsie.
Ooh.
They go exploring in a buried underground secret facility that probably should have had a biological hazard sign on the door, but didn't.
Shit. Wait,
And then
was it
they
just the
accident-
humans who started fucking around, or was it anything else that forced us?
Well, we were there trying to get rid of a collective of aliens known as the Covenant.
Ooh.
They were in there, and we decided that humans being humans, whatever they were up to was no good, so we went in there to fuck them up. Things did not go to plan. Well, we did successfully fuck up the Covenant.
Well, that's what matters anyway.
Problem is, the Forerunners had been experimenting on something in this facility, and then they accidentally Wuhaned all over the galaxy, and it was awful.
Oh. Oh.
Oh shit, I probably need to delete that. and then they accidentally had a containment breach. The humans.
Nah, let's blame the
And,
aliens. It wasn't us. The aliens did it.
Well, the aliens, but the flood all of a sudden that had been locked up in stasis or just buried or kept on deep freeze, turns out they weren't as dead as we'd like.
Oh.
It turns out, Trim, that evil was not in fact dead enough.
That is why you just keep firing it, then there's nothing left. The nuclear option.
Hey.
Always go nuclear.
Exactly. Evil can never be dead enough. So, yes, the Floods now had some biologics. And they hitched a ride and escaped.
Shit.
And oh boy, did they escape.
I mean, at least they didn't get to like this a massive fucking space station that was crawling with aliens that they could just numb, right?
Oh yeah, good thing there wasn't a massive spaceship or several just hanging around that they could hitch a ride on or maybe completely take over. Good thing.
Yeah,
Good thing.
Would be fucking terrible if that happened.
Yes. So unfortunately, the all-consuming flood is now spreading across the galaxy again. So humanity now has to fight these guys off while also fighting off the Covenant, who we're still at war with because, God forbid, we take a moment and focus on the real problem.
I blame the aliens on that one.
I mean, it is literally their fault.
Yeah. Wasn't it something that the Covenant have this religious stiffy for everything foreigner tech? And since, foreigner tech is what holding the flood back, they just can't not keep their fucking fingers off foreigner tech. So, ooh, I need to touch this.
They have an obsession with, shall we say, researching and disassembling Forerunner technology.
Yes.
Now, remember earlier how we said that the Forerunners left a little something on that small rock planet called Earth?
Yes.
Yes, it turns out that technically means that all humans are Forerunner technology. And I also mentioned that the Covenant like to disassemble Forerunner technology. Can you see the problem?
Yeah, that is an issue, isn't it?
It is. So, Covenant are a touch religiously, the Covenant are on a bit of a holy war to eliminate humanity. And being a human myself, I've grown rather attached to the existence of the species. So, yes.
I can see where
humanity
the issue...
must fight back.
Yeah,
yes.
I can see where the issue comes from.
So, as through the game, we plot through the beginnings of this war with the Covenant and the finding of this facility. Skipping over like 2 games in one sentence.
Yes. I mean, that's all you pretty much need. It's the first one. Halo 1 and 2 had pretty much the same process. It's just that on the second attempt, the aliens managed to fuck up too much, and we were not in time to clean up anyway.
So while we're running around as Mr. Player Character Man, also known as the Master Chief, we because it's a video game and you're the main character, are around for the discovery of all these things, including the discovery of the Forerunners genocide machine, their weapon of mass destruction, also known as the Halo Array.
Yeah, cue the holy choir in the sky. Oh wait, we don't have budget for that. Shit.
It's okay. There might be something copyright free.
Hey!
Violently Googles in the background. Praise the Omnisire. Well, that might be the best thing we can get, thanks to Robert Renato. Where was I? Yes. So, there's also... So when we get to these Forerunner installations, Forerunners annoyingly left behind some robots with the primary directive, stop the flood.
Oh, well, wouldn't that be a good thing?
You'd think so, but you've got to remember what we discussed earlier about how the best way to how the Forerunners think the best way to stop the flood is by eliminating all biological life forms in the area.
Oh.
And it just so happens that humans are A, in the area, and B, biological life forms.
Ew.
So, a bit of a conflict of interest there. Do we want to stop the flood, or do we not want to have our entire species exterminated?
But surely their highly sophisticated and intelligent AI wouldn't just resort to nuking everything immediately as soon as they see a spore, right?
Wrong.
Oh.
Yeah, crap.
Fuck.
So yeah, there begins the whole plot of running around the galaxy, stopping these weapons of galactic destruction activating, because that would be bad for our continued existence. But also at the same time, we still need to somehow stop the flood.
Huh. Now that is a conundrum.
Indeed, especially because, as we've covered, the flood are a all-consuming parasite that becomes stronger any time it kills someone, because it subsumes their body into the hive mind.
Oh, well, at least they're not able to just infect technology and just hijack it in this horrible cybernetic life form of death, right?
About that.
Oh.
Turns out that the flood, being some kind of weird fungal parasite thing, also can get into electronics, which is a bit of a problem when spaceships run on electronics. And you've now killed all the humans on the spaceship, or turned them into flood, and now you have a spaceship with faster-than-light capabilities.
And every person who knows how to fly said ship is now part of the biomass.
Yes, and as I alluded to a moment ago, the biomass also has a hive mind. I think a hive mind is accurate, but there are, of course, shall we say, more important flood within the hive mind that can exercise more complicated thought and control. But the flood itself can share the information through the biomass. Which is a problem, because once you have a spaceship pilot made of bio, and then you turn them into biomass, well, their brain is part of that, so now their knowledge is within the hive. Oh, crap.
Wow. They just have They have the ultimate hacks of I learn by eating.
I've been trying that, but it's not been working as well as planned. Like I keep eating and eating and eating, but all I'm learning is that I'm getting fat.
Maybe you haven't eaten the right people?
Oh shit, people, that's the problem. I've just been eating regular food.
Oh, okay. I mean, I guess cannibal is a same point. Oh boy. This is a joke, YouTube, I swear.
For legal reasons, don't eat people. You don't know where they've been.
No, I mean, ew.
Yes. So. Well. That's, I think, a very basic summary of the Flood.
Yep, I mean, this is only gonna be around an hour, so we're not gonna go into the ultra
I don't
deep
know.
lore
At the
of it.
rate,
So,
at the rate you're going with these drawings, it might be even shorter, which is excellent.
yes, skills, baby.
Yes. So, the Flood, very much a problem.
Yeah, a little bit. I remember they were not exactly a walk in a park to deal with in any of the games.
And new. So I'm just having a look at the wiki. We've told you basically about the Forerunners. Apparently, there's a lot more lore into the Forerunner Flood War before they had to deploy, or thought they had to deploy the Halos.
Yeah, the nuclear option, which I don't begrudge them. When dealing with communists, you always should go for the nuclear option, but maybe...
Yeah.
You know, it turns out that the endpoint of communism is a sentient fungal infection with the capacity of just, eating everything and learning everything.
Oh, also, did we mention that it's psychic?
Oh.
Or at least one part of it is. There is a super flood known as the Grave Mind, which is sort of like one of the controlling parts of the hive mind.
Yeah, if I
And
remember...
it's got a little bit of the psychics in it.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, the Grave Mind is essentially the central point, on which all Flood intellect stems from. So even if you kill the body of a Grave Mind, its essence, its psychic presence remains as long as the Flood infection remains. So it can just infinitely respawn like a bitch.
Yes. So, as we mentioned about the revive, we mentioned in very brief passing the revival of them. So, after the Forerunners blew them all up, they were kept in stasis at various installations around the galaxy, including installation 04, which is a bit of what, as we said, was a bit of a mistake, because humans and the Covenant stumbled across them.
Huh.
Yeah, so we, the player character, our AI waifu Cortana, and our friends and colleagues aboard the UNSC Pillar of Autumn have to jump randomly into space. Or randomly. Well, the AI found some coordinates on an artifact, and we were kind of getting our ass kicked by the Covenant, so we needed to jump to somewhere safe, but we didn't want to leave them to Earth. So the AI programs these random coordinates into the computer. Problem is, those random coordinates were one of the Flood specimen storage facilities.
Oh boy. I mean, when the need drives, you gotta go for the best thing, especially when you're stuck in a magic metal ring in far space with a literal army of death and destruction on your heels.
Yes. So of course we get pursued by the Covenant cruisers, such as the Truth and Reconciliation.
That sounds
In
like
the
a good
business, we call this foreshadowing.
I'm sure nothing bad will happen to this ship. It sounds like a pretty nice ship with a lot of nice people.
Yeah. So, yes, on this planet, we end up having to chase the Covenant into the containment facility. Except, it's not doing too well in the whole containing part.
Ew. I mean,
Yeah, so
religious aliens fucking around with important tech would probably do that.
yes. Unfortunately, this has led to the revival of said flood.
Oh.
And they were for this time contained behind the walls because they didn't have weapons. But the humans, not speaking alien, and apparently missing. Well, and because again the Forerunners didn't bother to draw a big biohazard symbol on the pissing wall. So the humans are blundering around this facility, open a door, and all of a sudden get face hugged.
Oh. Yes.
Yes.
The tiny little squigglies that jump on you, burrow into your chest, create super tubers,
In fact,
and...
Trim, would you happen to have a handy example of one of these little face hugging infection forms that you could show everyone?
This little fella right here.
Yes. So, yeah, some of the humans got a little bit face hugged. Did not go well for them. They did not appreciate the hug.
Nope. And here I thought every species spoke the language of love and care and embrace.
Yeah. Yeah. So, unfortunately, this planet being the site of a battle between the humans, both on the ground and in the air / space, there's some crashed dropships in the area, and they're only a little crashed.
Just a little. Only a few casualties.
Yep. Unfortunately, it's not crashed enough to prevent it from flying if, shall we say, the information within the pilot's brain is recovered.
Yes, and those pilots probably have a lot of information to say where more succulent, tasty humans would be found too, should they ever decide to get peckish.
Indeed. But it turns out they weren't as impressed with the human ships because they chose to go after one of the Covenant ships.
Which one would that be?
Funnily enough, an agricultural support ship, the Infinite Succor, which is not succor but succor, Succor, which refers to sustenance.
Yes.
Unfortunately, it's an agricultural support ship. There are weird alien animals on board, made of lovely, lovely, delicious biomass. As well as the aliens, who were, conveniently enough, also made of lovely, lovely biomass.
Probably some trees too, made out of even more lovely, lovely biomass. Tasty.
Yes, they also got aboard several other ships. One of which was... What was that one we mentioned before? Oh yeah, the Truth and Reconciliation.
Oh. Oh. Well, hopefully
Yeah,
that one is not an agricultural ship, you know, with not so much biomass. And at least not a battleship. Right?
Well, conveniently, fortunately, it was not an agricultural supply ship. Unfortunately, it absolutely was essentially a flagship.
Oh.
It's a big boy battleship. Oh yeah, and did we mention that the flood could subsume electronics and extract knowledge from biomass?
That is not ideal.
Nope, not at all. So yes, now that they've acquired a bunch of ships, they're off for more delicious biomass, because there's not much biomass on this planet. It's a halo ring well, it's not even a planet, it's an artificial halo ring that we are currently aboard.
Yeah.
So, yes, noticing that there are only so many humans and aliens about, the Flood decides that it could really use some more tasty, tasty biomass.
I mean, when you do look at a steak, you really want more steak.
Oh, yes. Unfortunately, well, or fortunately for us, unfortunately for the Flood, their escape was cut short.
Really? How?
Well, kind of accidentally crashed a little. There may have been some polite suggestions from human weaponry.
Oh. I mean, when a gun really insists that you do something, you kind of do, or if you don't,
Yes.
then the...
Or rather, sorry, the Pillar of Autumn, the ship we were on earlier, had crashed. So, unfortunately, that means big ship on planet Flood wants in. Not
Yes.
good.
No, I don't.
So, the Flood needed to be destroyed. And needed to be destroyed in a very big area. Fortunately, the battleship has a very large reactor.
Oh.
Yes.
Well, like all infections, they must be burned away.
Yeah, well, yes. And much like cancer, it is very much the hope that the infection dies before the host. Because that's how our old pal chemotherapy basically works, or at least the way I've heard it described, is you're basically poisoning the host and hoping that the disease dies first.
Yes. Can confirm.
So, not fun. But in this case, we're not doing chemotherapy. We're more doing thermonuclear therapy.
So it's
On a planetary scale.
So technically, we're doing the radiation treatment before chemo.
Kind of, yes. We're just for the entire installation.
Oh,
Which also has the side effect of destroying the integrity of the ring and rendering it unable to annihilate all sentient life.
Huh. Well, I mean, I kind of see that as a benefit since I can technically be classified as sentient life.
Well, humans generally are, so it depends if we're classifying you as human. Unfortunately, I don't think the Covenant care too much whether you're human or ape. It's close enough is good enough.
Yes.
They'd probably enjoy apes immensely. Lots of strength. Great for smashing.
Yes. Monkey see, monkey do.
Yes, very much so. Unfortunately, it was not a complete success. There were still flood spores running around.
Shit. So you're saying that in an array of many rings, more rings had blood spores on them?
Yes, because apparently, despite being a hyper-advanced space race, the Forerunners were idiots. Really bad infection control. Really bad infection control procedures.
I mean, they're extinct for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Can't really feel bad for them then either.
Yeah. So, just trying to see what parts we should skip for this basic introduction.
Yes. I mean, we basically covered Halo 1. Halo 2 is pretty much the same, only that's where the big worm guy arrives, who is the Grey Mine.
Well, that's where one of these ships that we mentioned decides that it's going to visit Earth, and it's not good for us.
Really? Oh, shit.
I think that's what it was too, where it visits Earth. The games all blend together, but yeah. High Charity is where the Flood is hanging out, and that was a city owned by the Covenant.
Oh.
But we don't care about the Covenant, only so far as they're more biomass for the Flood.
Yeah, that's a good way of caring about them. And I guess High Charity doesn't have the nuclear option as readily available as a Pillar of Autumn.
Yes. Unfortunately, as we mentioned, the Covenant are kind of a religious society hell-bent on the destruction of humanity.
Ew.
So, despite the fact that the Flood are hanging around being a problem, they decide, you know what, we're going to get those pesky humans home planet. If we don't survive, well, neither are they.
So their priorities are definitely straight, like an arrow.
Yes. Unfortunately, they eventually end up managing to get a captured Covenant ship to a small little planet that we've spoken of previously called Earth.
Oh, that's my favorite planet, though.
I know, that's where I keep all my shit.
Yes.
Can't destroy Earth, that's where all my stuff is.
Yeah, how dare you?
Yes. Of course, by this time we have a friend, a former member of the Covenant who was naughty and got punished, but he doesn't like hates the Flood as much as we do, so close enough's good enough.
So basically, he's one of the few Covenants who are able to rub two brain cells together and realize that, maybe we should shoot the bigger thing trying to eat me.
Pretty much.
There's a basis of cooperation there. I like it.
Indeed. So eventually, we basically, over the several hours of gameplay, we run around dealing with different Flood infections and have to chase them off Earth, essentially. Many explosions ensue.
Also, I think we had to glass like an entire half a continent, but, you know...
It's okay, there wasn't anything important there.
No. What was it called? Mombasa something?
New Mombasa, I think it was. But unfortunately for the locals, the Flood are very efficient.
Yeah, there wasn't much Mombasa left.
No. So, yes, we kind of had to glass the place.
Yeah, but hey, it's a worthy trade.
It was. Yeah, yes, eventually, through plot, we managed to defeat the Flood and to destroy the Gravemind. For now.
Despite its best efforts to give us constant plot seizures.
Yes, if you check out one of the previous... Was it Simply Sketchy? Simply Sketchy is where we covered Halo 2?
3. Halo 3.
3. They made a very unfortunate game design decision where the aforementioned psychic Gravemind would infiltrate our brain, which wouldn't have been a problem if it hadn't slowed the character speed to a crawl in magic game hallways.
Yes.
It was awful.
I mean, at least it was kind of realistic in how you get seizures slowed down, but it's kind of annoying when you do it like 15 times.
Yeah. If it had just been once, it would have been so bad, but it was just very frustrating to have segments of action broken up by just boring plot. Because it's not like the Gravemind was telling us any interesting plot.
I mean, at least he did. At least he spoke in rhymes. That's mildly entertaining.
It was it was entertaining, but I think I would have been much happier if I hadn't been slowed to a crawl and forced to sit through the whole thing while pressing W. A very unfortunate game design choice that one was, I think.
Yeah, but the game aside from that was actually pretty solid. At least you could fucking
It was.
run.
Yes, and unlike 2, we didn't have to relaunch every time because Trim kept disappearing during 2.
God, that was pain.
Yeah.
But we paid those fuckers back and we nuked them. And then we nuked their ship. And then we nuked the thingy they were on. And then we nuked their souls. And pretty much there's a very...
And then we peed on the ashes.
Yes. Let's just hope that they stayed dead this time.
Yeah. But unfortunately, I don't think we found all the Forerunner containment facilities, so if they ever decide to make a 5th Halo game, they might decide that, oh look, we found another one.
I mean, I'm pretty happy with the Flood being dead, and I don't know, man. Halo 5, it would be pretty hard to top that one. Would be safer to go with a prequel.
I mean, there are options in the extended lore for prequels. Though, yes. Unfortunately, it seems that there are no competent companies interested in making Halo anymore, so we never will get a Halo 5.
Nah, the IP sadly dead, but let's just be glad that it died on a high note and didn't get absolutely fucking destroyed, mutilated, and, raped out of existence. It got to keep its dignity, right?
Yes. Let's say yes.
Yes.
Good thing they didn't make any TV shows.
Oh god. That would be cool with a Halo TV show. Surely they wouldn't fuck that up.
Well, I imagine that they would have. You'd have to try very hard to screw up a Halo TV show. I mean, all you need is some aliens, Master Chief, big explosions. Get someone sexy to play Cortana, and don't let Master Chief take his helmet off. Simple.
Yeah, I mean, he never fucking takes his helmet off, and even when he does, you don't see anything. Under Master Chief's helmet is another helmet.
Yes, some genius hacked the camera in one of the games to see what was under the Chief's helmet. Turns out they just stuck another model of his helmet in his hands that he moved away, so his helmet was still in his head. It was hilarious.
Oh, love it. So, one thing I wonder about, you mentioned how the Flood starts from nothing and grows upwards by eating. So, does that mean that the Flood work in, say, stages, phases through existence as they eat more and more?
Yes. Though, so they do. An infestation has four distinct stages. So you have the feral stage, where the Flood communicate via pheromones and have the instinct to harvest enough calcium to establish a viable grave mind. And we mentioned the grave minds; they're like the controller of the hive mind.
Giant psychic worm parasite thingy that speaks in rhymes and gives you seizures.
Yes. So once they have got a grave mind up and running, they enter the coordinated stage, because they've got the grave mind to control them, make more detailed plans, take more logical actions.
Like flying ships and crashing into planets and then starting the cycle all over again.
That's stage 3, the interstellar stage, when they take control of space-going technology, which they use to consume the local star system.
Ew.
And subsequently, they spread throughout the galaxy.
Less than ideal.
And then, of course, the last stage is the transgalactic stage, a theoretical stage in which the Flood utilizes all the captured technology to depart to uninfected galaxies, which would be what is commonly referred to as bad.
Yes. So, considering how far we got in Halo 3, we were only fighting the second to last stage of Flood infection.
Yeah, we were at the interstellar stage, because they were bumming around the local systems.
I mean, I think
at the transgalactic stage, we would be very dead.
Yes, I mean, quite literally would be very dead, because there would be nothing left, and the Flood had to go somewhere else to get foods.
Yes. Unfortunately, there's an awful lot of people to eat before they decide to leave.
Yeah, and it gets only brainier the more mass. Shit.
Yep. It turns out that the bigger the hive mind, the smarter it is, which is not good for people trying to defeat it.
Which kind of puts into perspective that the Forerunner Flood War was only within a galaxy, so the Flood has never really reached the final stage, meaning that we've never really seen. And
well, as they say, it's a theoretical stage, because at that point they're unstoppable.
So, while we're at it, undead gods aside, the entity. Do you know a little bit more about the deep lore? Since we're still have a little bit left to do here, maybe we can dive a little bit deeper into the deep lore.
You're
Say,
gonna have to be incredibly more specific.
what is the How did the flood possibly start? Did it just pop into existence? Magic? Or maybe was it something else?
Well, that's an interesting question, isn't it?
Yes. From what I've heard, the flood theoretically might have been the creations or an alternate shape of a being that was far more older and advanced than the flood. The precursors, originally named.
Yes, though I can't see that in the notes I'm using, so it might fall into more of the fan theory possibly, unless you know somewhere better for me to look.
If you look up the Halo wiki, you can find it there.
Okay, what were they called? The precursors. So we already had the forerunners. So let's see, Halo precursor.
Yes, Forerunners, and what came before the Forerunners? What precursed the Forerunners? Well, the precursors, of course.
Yes. So yes. So according to the Halo wiki or Halopedia, precursors were an advanced race that preceded and were mythologized by the Forerunners. The Forerunners classified them as transsentient beings, having the ability to travel among galaxies and accelerate the evolution of intelligent life. Uh-oh.
Yeah, shit.
Unfortunately, we've seen very much on Earth what happens when people who think they know better start messing with the biology.
Yes.
In fact, we've just suffered through 4 years of that.
Suddenly it became topical.
Mm.
So, shit.
Leaving the rest of that topic alone, because YouTube.
Correct.
Yes, so one of the theories about the precursors is that they upload their minds.
Oh.
But also they would like to mess around.
Essentially, from what I remember, they're basically space gods who can do almost whatever the hell they want, and shit happened, they did a thing, and shit happened even again.
Yes. So skimming through a whole bunch of background information, the Halopedia refers to the return and says a few precursors escaped or were spared by the Forerunners. They either went into suspended animation or became molecular dust that was meant to eventually regenerate into their past forms. However, over millions of years, the dust became defective, failing to reconstitute the precursors and instead inducing madness and mutations in life forms that came in contact with it. This form would later be known as the Flood.
So the flood spores are basically corrupted god dust.
Yes.
Oh joy. Kinda makes sense why the flood are so pissed off at living things.
Well, there doesn't seem to be a great deal of logic in them until the grave mines start appearing. Everything else seems to be driven purely on instinct. The instinct to feed upon the flesh of the living.
Yes. Because being violent space zombies, there are some tropes you need to follow. Damn
Yes. Also, Trim.
Yes?
I have bad news.
What?
You are unfortunately living in flesh.
What?
Yeah, I'm sorry to inform you, but you are living and flesh, which means that you would be a prime target for a face hugging by the Flood.
Oh, shit.
Because unlike regular zombies, the Flood don't really care if you have a brain or not.
Oh. Oh. And here I thought it was safe from all zombies. God damn it.
No, just the brain-eating ones.
Well, at least these guys don't discriminate, so, you know, positives, I guess. Swings and roundabouts.
Indeed. Alright, it's time for me to have a check-in on the art, because I've been busy reading.
Yes.
How are we doing? What's going on? So we are very well into the shading stage.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well, the combat form was very nice, sir.
Yes. I do love drawing things like the flood because it lets me just be squiggly and not care at all about anatomy because, the flood just, this thing borrows into this thing and just, rearranges everything as it needs.
Yes, Trim doesn't need to worry about perspective or symmetry or getting the comparative sizes correct because they're mutated, and as you can see from the combat form here, you can tell that he uses his left hand for extracurricular activities.
This dude won left-hand wankership. This dude, right-hand wankership.
I was going to be more subtle about that. And kids, if you don't know what's going on, leave a like on the video, then close YouTube and go ask your mum.
Yes. It also goes under the word FAP. Have fun with that.
Yes. And if you were a parent who has now come back to the video in response to your kids asking you that question, why the hell are you letting your kid on the internet unsupervised? You learn to bloody parent before the government decides that they are going to do it for you and bans access to social media without an ID and then gets crazy about porn.
Yeah, all this is
on you,
your
parents.
fault. Yeah, this is your fault.
Well, that's it, because so many parents are too stupid to monitor their own kids' internet usage. There are now morons in the government who think that it's the government's job to decide what parts of the internet kids are allowed on.
Yeah. And through all that bullshit, you'll get the flood eventually. Dumbasses.
And being an Australian who has lived through the government losing my personal information, my internet provider losing my personal information, my health insurance provider losing my personal information, I totally trust a porn website to do a great job keeping track of my ID, which I'm not going to give them anyway. Because VPNs.
Bezek, the more you start talking, the more it starts sounding like actually being... At least the flood is far better organized than the government.
The only saving grace, most people will find that the only saving grace is that the government is too incompetent to do the evil they have planned.
Yeah. Too many factions going against each other. That's kind of a nice thing. The flood, unfortunately, is the perfect example of evil being fully united, which is really fucking scary.
Yes. I think I've heard some people refer to there being two types of evil. There's like the human evil, the intellectual, the intentional evil, and then there's preternatural evil. And the floods are preternatural evil. Like so are the aliens from Alien, and the shark from Jaws.
Oh yeah.
It's not so much that they are driven by bad intentions, it's just that their nature is evil.
Yes.
At least from our point of view. Because, again, going back to the whole eating your face off thing.
Yeah, and also, communism is just evil, regardless of situation.
Yes. If you would like our opinion on communism, you could either go over to the Sons of Chardonnay on Saturdays at, for now, 2 p.m. London time, or you can just go and watch a compilation of Liberty Prime clips on YouTube.
Yes.
You'll have more... Our opinions and the opinions of Liberty Prime have a strong overlap.
Yes. We're big stans of Liberty Prime here. Might do an episode on him one day.
We should.
Yes.
Though I get that would be that'll be fun on YouTube.
Just insert quotes randomly. God, I love that thing.
Just sit here quoting Liberty Prime all episode. That'll go over well. YouTube will love that.
Yeah. Liberty Prime, he should have had the Matrix of Leadership after Optimus.
And we it's a shame that the Transformers is dead and there are no more movies.
Yeah, they're not making a animated movie that has, hopeful, decent design, I would wager, but hopefully it doesn't have any shit, terrible writing that makes me want to gouge my eyes out.
Well, unfortunately, now, I was under the impression that movie trailers were supposed to include enough good bits to get people to watch it. And if the pieces of dialogue in that trailer are what they consider good, it's going to be a train wreck.
Oh, that's gonna be an episode that we can we can make an episode out of that.
Uh, Trim is going to watch the movie and then he's going to tell me about it, and then I'm going to spend like 4 years canceling out the death threats against film executives.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure if we're ever gonna cover the Transformers 1 movie on this channel, that episode is just gonna be a lot of beeping noises. Everybody's gonna get tinnitus, and I'm not sorry.
Yes, it's a shame. Unfortunately, it features modern humor, which is appalling because it's not funny. It's badly done tropes, self-referential.
I think the best summary of the humor of modern Hollywood and everything is, bootleg Garden of the Galaxy. That shit worked for the first 2 Guardians of the Galaxy movies, barely, but it doesn't work for everything,
Speaking of Guardians of the Galaxy, Guardians of the Galaxy is the source of this stupid, bloody trend of taking classic songs from the past and then layering them over your trailer where they don't fit and making the song sound stupid and the thing look stupid and it's just a mess, which is annoying because Guardians of the Galaxy did it well.
Yes. You know what?
But unfortunately, everyone else decided to try and copy them, and it doesn't work because in Guardians of the Galaxy they actually tied it into the backstory.
Yeah, because the main character had a fucking Walkman and was playing music on it on the regular.
Yes. So it kind of tied into it. It also tied into the opening sequence. Unfortunately, nowadays they're just sticking it in the trailer and going, look, we licensed what used to be good music.
Yes.
Please watch our garbage.
We went from the flood to, flood in form to flood in ideology, let's be fair.
Yes. And in fact, it's emblematic of a bigger problem, laziness in the media as well. Like, remember when people used to get a composer to do all the music for a piece of media?
And not just the composer, they would in some cases too hire a band. Like, since mentioning Transformers, going from full flesh to full metal, you had Stan Bush do the music for the original 1986 movie, where you have iconic songs like "The Touch."
Yes, but I have one name, John Williams.
Yes.
Unfortunately, nowadays they've decided that they're either going to take popular songs from the past and shove them in there, or they're just going to get the licensed random garbage songs and shove them in the TV show. And if they don't want to do that, they'll just get some pre-made junk. There's very little original composing done in certainly TV. Every time I'm watching when was the last time I watched a TV show? Years ago. I used to watch several, but I've lost interest because they're all modern now.
Yeah.
Which means there's no funny jokes.
Boy, no.
But the Big Bang Theory has a lot to frickin' pay for when it comes to changing people's understanding of the concept of humor.
You might have to censor this, but the writers of Big Bang Theory could just go jump off a bridge and fucking catch fire.
Big Bang Theory. But this, again, if you disagree, leave your opinions in the comments below. It boosts engagement. It's good for views.
And if you agree, you can also do the same.
I hate everything about Big Bang Theory. Actually, no, that's not true. There are 2 things I don't hate about Big Bang Theory.
It's over?
No. And they have to, and those two things are attached to the blind actress.
Oh.
She is the only good thing about that show, except when she talks.
Well,
That doesn't help. That's too squeaky.
yes.
But no, I just can't stand Big Bang Theory. Like, the jokes are so formulaic.
And also the laughing track is how many years?
It's an awful laugh track. But the jokes are just bad. Now, from my point of view.
Yeah.
Like, every time it's like, oh, I think until we're... not only are they predictable, they're just bad.
It's essentially Hollywood or whatever the hell just trying to... Oh, hey, people like nerdy things. Haha, let's go for nerd humor. Look at these nerds. They're
And the
losers.
really sad thing is, it's gotten worse since The Big Bang Theory.
Yep.
Because nowadays, you're only allowed to make safe jokes.
Yes.
And without going into too many details on that, I will use a counterexample to prove my point. In Big Bang Theory, one of my favourite scenes, they're arguing over how some piece of technology won't work, and they're bagging out the Indian guy going, oh, you wouldn't know anything about this. And eventually they're like, fine, we'll just call tech support. Dial in the number, press send, and the Indian dude's phone rings. And that's an allusion to how apparently every call center in the world is operated out of India. And if for some reason it's illegal to operate that call center out of India, somehow the Indians who have immigrated to your country somehow still end up in the call center.
Yes, it's
like
it's as if, Bezek, the best joke have a kernel of truth in them.
Yes, it's almost as if stereotypes, while they shouldn't be used as a guideline for, let's say, social or interactions or policy decisions, are obviously based on a kernel of truth.
Yes, like Irish and alcohol, Norwegians and taxes, Swedes and hand grenades.
Let's not go with that one.
Yeah, you could just cut that one or censor it. You know,
I'll
just
censor it.
Swedes
It'll be
and
funnier that
Swedes
way.
and beeps.
Yes. Or Australians and this saying g'day.
Yes, or cunt.
Yes, but that tends to be harder to get on daytime TV.
Ah.
You know, rules and shit.
Yeah, because some Brits say things. Oh, you can't say cunt. Well, Australians like, oh, hello, cunt. How you doing, mate?
Exactly. G'day, cunt.
Only time I've been called a cunt, and it's.
And since while we're talking about stereotypes, have you heard the throw another shrimp on the Barbie?
You mean like a shrimp like the flood infection form?
Sure. But you've heard the saying, and you've heard it alluded to as being an Australian thing, right?
Yep.
Small problem. There are no shrimp in Australia.
Oh.
Yeah, we call them prawns.
Oh. Then where did you get the shrimps from?
Got nothing to do with us.
Oh.
Hollywood made it up.
Of course.
At least I'm pretty sure Hollywood made it up.
Well, and with that aside, as we talked about shrimps and prawns and other creatures that look vaguely like them.
Ah, there we go. I found the source. It's a phrase that originated in a series of television advertisements in the US and UK starring Paul Hogan, talking about another shrimp on the Barbie, which is a bit of a problem because, yeah, we don't use the word shrimp in Australia.
Well, that's shit. But
it is, but there you go. So I got nothing whatsoever to do with Australia.
No.
Just, which makes it confusing as to why they used it.
But
oh, anyway, you were onto something else.
Yes, though as we have now been talking about a little bit everything outside, because to be fair, we have covered everything about the flood without going into literal absolute autistic detail, which is fun every now and then, but
if you want absolute autistic detail,
leave a like in the comments down below and tell me, and I will make more flood-related stuff, and I can even go into
that too,
details
but
in forms.
you can also find a very, 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 very long article on Halopedia.
Yes, that too. It's we encourage you to do a little bit of research of your own. This here is essentially
The most important thing you need to know about the flood is that shotgun's great.
yes. And if you see a flood with a rocket launcher, run. Just run.
Yes.
Run.
Yeah, very much so.
I know what you might think. Maybe I dodged it. Maybe I can get away from it. No, run. It will only fire 2 rockets, and then you just, blow it up with whatever you can from a distance. It's not worth it, dude. It's not worth it. Flood, rocket launcher, run.
Yep.
So, with that,
I think that brings us to the end of another fantastic episode of Simply Sketchy.
Yes, and I would like to thank Besek for joining me in on this one. It's been a lot of fun, and we managed to actually keep track, and we didn't even deviate until after we'd run out of stuff. So, for what I've created is essentially my favorite forms. The tank form, its pure form, the infection form, which is the most iconic one and the most annoying, and of course, the one that scared the shit out of me as a kid, the human combat form. So, with that, yes. I would like to thank you, Besik, for joining me in on another Simply Sketchy, and I'm looking forward to the next one we can do. We'll find out what that episode is going to be when we get there. If you would like to know a bit more about Besik and his content, he has a YouTube channel known as with the @ of Besik1000, where me and Besik actually used to do, and sooner or later we'll start again doing semi-regular.
Well, somebody keeps going to work and wanting to make money because he doesn't want to be homeless, and it's just really inconvenient.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but I'm kind of egotistical like that. I'm kind of sorry, sorry, not sorry. But I like having a roof over my head and a bed to sleep on.
Fussy.
I know, right? How dare I? And if you would like to hear me, Besik, and some of our friends, some of whom I hopefully will drag on to another episode of Simply Sketchy in the future, drop by on Rumble for Sultans of Chatelet to hear a bunch of grown adult men rage against the state of the world. And if you like the work of art I do, feel free to go down in the description below and have a look-see at my merch store. Or if you want to commission my work, you can always go to my Ko-Fi. I pretty much am open to do everything, though furry shit costs extra.
Yeah. And we'd also like to thank our pal Rob Renato for the music that's been playing in the background of this episode.
Yes, he's a good friend and a fantastic musician. Do give him a look-see. He makes a lot of good stuff.
Yes, especially if you like 40k.
Oh yeah, 40k. He also does a lot of other stuff, like a few MechWarrior things.
Indeed. And unfortunately, that brings us to the end of this episode. It has been a pleasure as always, Tim, and of course, it's been good to see you again, audience.
I'm very thankful for you joining me here, and I look forward to it next time, dude. And until then, guys, have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye.